over the years. You see somebody, that got they got a Carrera or a little Scalextric set, and they're like, yeah, I was thinking of a 40,000 RPM motor. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what you need on a track as big as a coffee table. You know,
Yeah.
you see that all the time. Someone say, I wish they made this. I'd buy them all, and then they make them, and you never hear a word from them.
Hello, you're listening to Talking Out a Slot, the podcast about having fun with toy cars. I'm Scott, and today I'm joined by somebody whose voice most of you will probably recognise if you've watched anything on YouTube about slot cars, and I think he's got the most famous hands in slot car world. It's Harry Wise of Home Racing World. Hi, Harry.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good. It's good to see you. Thanks for doing this. I think I said to you, well, I mean, it's one of those things where I've been, you started Home Racing World so long ago. We'll talk about that in a
Oh,
minute, but we've kind of known each other from thousands of miles apart for a long, long time. How did you get? My usual start question: What got you into slot cars? Where did it all begin?
like a lot of people, when we were younger, when we were children, um, in my area where I grew up, and it was from a Sears catalog, and AFX racing, you know,
Yeah.
Thunder Jets, stuff like that. And then of course you get older, you you get out of it for a while, and then um, in my late teens, early 20s, I was in the military, and the love of the cars came back to me, and I wanted to play with them some more. I had a little bit of extra money, and I just started getting some cars together, and um, the larger scale too. And there was a local train club that I was involved with, and there were racers there, and we just started going, and it just never looked back.
Once the bug bites, you see, that's it, isn't it? Well, it's difficult to go. So the transition to sort of 1/32nd scale, was that back then, or did that come when you got track at home? How did you
Well,
get to the stage where you
yeah,
got the?
the transition to the larger scale happened later. It right around 88 to 89. Um, some some guys had a lot of the Strombecker and the Revell, just AMT, just those classic cars that I just hadn't messed with that much, and the fascination of the larger scale cars just took over, and I just started collecting them here. They weren't that hard to find, but then again, it was just depending on where I was, locale. But just started collecting them and racing them and running, and then of course the commercial style cars too. They had a few tracks there and everything, and yeah, that was right around 1988, 89 is when I went from the HO scale to large scale.
To the big stuff, yeah. I think what you've described is typical for a lot of people in the UK, as Brits, because Scalextric was so much part of everybody's life from, the
Right.
50s, 60s kind of thing. We went kind of straight in at 1/32nd, and the smaller stuff came a little bit, certainly for me. And it was
Yeah.
just, that's what we think of as proper slot cars sort of thing. It's been that way. When so you obviously were you in the military? Were you moving about then, or were you sort of, so you couldn't have a permanent track, I guess, if you were moving town to town?
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't have a permanent track. We just moving about and everything, and I had a record track, just a figure eight, right? But it was, I think, and I don't know over there, it was a collaborative effort. So somebody had the room or had a space that you could, set up a track with, kind of like a club thing, right?
Hmm.
So you kind of found, you went to the local hobby shop, which we had those everywhere back then, and you put your name on a bulletin board, right? The Amish internet, and you make contact with, you know, with other racers, other people that way. And that was how we would get together, and somebody would have a really nice home track setup or something, and that's what we would do.
Yeah, no, I was, we, even though the country's much smaller, we didn't do that. It wasn't until the start of, well, it was Slot Car Illustrated, and I think a few,
Oh
and
yeah,
I kind of
right.
met up, got to know a few other Brits on there, and that's when I first went to a club. It never dawned on me in all the years that I was sort of, playing with slot cars, and they would bank holiday, you push the furniture to one side and build a track for an afternoon. Never dawned on me to go and do it with anybody else. So that was a real revelation for me. But I think that's, I mean, I will come on to, I think that the the internet has changed everything. I know, so it's a cliche to say it, but I think it's been a huge help for a niche hobby or a niche pastime like slot cars because we can find each other. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And you talk about lone wolf racing. A lot of us, did that. Um, our hobby is is a great hobby, and it's had its peaks and valleys, but still small compared to some other hobbies. Um, but I just raced by myself and collected a few cars here and there, and then when you discovered somebody close to you, that, oh wow, really, you do? Well, let's
Yeah,
get together. But you're right. You're right. The internet, yeah, you're right. It does sound cliche to say it, but transformed everything. Like I said, you used to have to go into the hobby shop and put your name on the pegboard. Anyone interested in slot cars or slot car, whatever. And then you go to like the grocery stores here. We had bulletin boards, and you would post pictures or like a car or something. Do you slot car race or this, and you put it up there, and you put your phone number down, which you always took a chance doing that, right? But you did just to get in touch, and there were newsletters over here. We had VSRN, Vintage Scale Racing Newsletter. You had Auto World, where you could the classifieds to make contact with people,
okay, yeah.
things like that. So that's how we used to have to communicate with everyone.
Together. So that kind of leads me on quite nicely because obviously one of the things the first time I came aware of you was because of Home Racing World, which was a kind of website stroke forum, and it was certainly one of the very first ones I ever came across, and that must be 20 odd years ago. So what made you start that? What was the motivation to go from being a practitioner to being a broadcaster, as it were?
Oh, I always had a fascination for um, some of the people that did um, the articles that I would read in the magazines, like Model Railroader, the Model Railroad people, and in Auto World, and Model Car Science, and Robert Schleicher, right?
Mm, I know the name.
Um,
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, he just amazing man. Just has done so much, and it just fascinated me that they're doing articles, and they're writing about toy cars. I mean, isn't that everybody's dream? Is you get paid to. But um, I just I just I decided that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to somehow um, share the hobby the best way I knew how, and that was to invest in a digital camera and start taking pictures and writing about it, and seeing if I could get them published. you know, and when there was maybe one or two sites, but then Ken McClellan and we started Slacker Illustrated, and it just went from there. You know, we had, I don't know what you had over there as far as forums. Um,
And to my knowledge, Slot Car Illustrated was the first one I discovered. And for younger viewers, as I like to say, what you need to remember in those days, this was dial-up. So when you called up a page and it has some pictures on it, you sat there waiting for this thing to load up. And if you'd be full of anticipation, and it would get there, you think, "Oh, I don't want to see that. What's the next one?" So you had to have you had a lot of patience in those days. Yeah.
That's funny because if you go back to some of my older articles, like the first ones I've ever done, the I had a Sony Mavica camera, which at the time, wow, that's uptown. And it was a 3.5 inch floppy drive camera.
Wow. Yeah.
And I took pictures, and the largest that I made them were 400 by 300 pixels because it took forever for photos to load,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It was. It,
I had to use Microsoft Front Page to make a web page,
mhm.
and the upload speeds on dial-up. I would do an article like I'll never forget doing the article for the first electric Mustang, the Trans Am car,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it took me an hour to hit upload, and I went outside and cut grass, and I kept coming back checking to see if it had been published yet. And to your point, there were people at the time. Fantasy World Hobbies had a forum, Stock Car Illustrated, Old Word Herald. And people were emailing me and said, "Yeah, your article is great." He goes, "Can you reduce the size of your photos because it's taken my computer a long time to load them." So we had our challenges back then.
Well, I mean, again, it seems inconceivable when you just think now we've got a thing in our hand and we can take a picture and bang, it's the whole world can see it within several keystrokes, kind of thing. Whether that's a good thing,
Absolutely.
whether that's a good thing or not, we'll save for another day to debate. But
Right.
it's
Yeah,
yeah.
it's changed so much, and now look what we do.
Well,
You know,
I think it's all been, as I say, I think it's been great in the service of so many things. But I think, as I say, a minority hobby. I mean, I used to collect die-cast a lot. I think with a lot of cars in the past,
sure.
and it was one of those things where I would go if I was travelling with work, and you could almost kind of sense because we would go to Spain quite a lot. So you'd be in sort of rural Spain, and you got a kind of sixth sense of, I bet there's a slot car shop down that street somewhere. And I've still got some cars which have got the price tickets from the Spanish shops and things. So it was great to go physically discovering them, but of course, there's a sense of missing out. Where was all this treasure we didn't know about? Internet comes along and everything is available, so it's better in one way. But there's a lot. I've lost that sense of adventure. So, but yeah, with two ways of going. So when and I got involved in the early days of Slot Forum because the guy set that up, and it was
Absolutely.
it was a kind of it was a wild west for a while, and yeah.
I remember when they started.
Yeah. Well, it was we did a kind of look back. I got Doug and Alan and Gareth, and we did a kind of 20th anniversary kind of which I'll put a link in the thing for anybody who's really that interested in it. But
Alan, he
it
did
was
one of the first reviews for the first Carrera cars with the new chassis.
yeah, because he was in Switzerland. You see, Carrera. It was even either Carrera was a
That's right.
whole kind of what's this strange exotic beast that we never saw.
Ferrari 599,
Hmm.
I believe, was the first retooling of the all new Carrera chassis, and he did the product review on it.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, it seems likely because he was close to the territory. I was going to say I'm
Right.
sitting. I should have said I've got an appropriate mug, by the way. It's got a UK flag on one side and the stars and stripes on the other. The
Oh
confession
yeah.
the confession is I bought this to give to my sister because she lives in New England, and when it
Right.
arrived, I liked it so much I never sent it to her. But anyway, so, so she doesn't watch, so I'm okay.
I have a good collection of cups here that we've had made. I just got this in from Mr. Dojo there. It's
Well,
I have plenty of.
Well, it's one of the things that when I when we started doing the podcast sort of 2, maybe 3 years ago now, I can't remember. We had a break for a while, but 'cause real life got in the way. But there wasn't really that many, and there's loads, which is great. But it does seem to be a thing where everybody's got to have a sticker and everybody's got to have a mug and all that kind of thing. So it's fascinating the way we've all started websites and podcasts and things, and the first thing we reach for is
It's
the
amazing.
merch.
It's amazing. I mean, my wife, aka General My Way, she has a laser and she makes things, and she makes coffee cups, and she's got the press and the ink and the whole thing. A lot of it DIY stuff. It used to be a big deal. Wow, I got my name on a coffee cup. Now we make them just or order them online.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. Talking of making things, one of the things I remember you doing and was you basically it was a run. You put some liveries on cars, didn't you? Was it the early NASCARs? I'm trying to remember back with Home Racing World
What
on.
was it now?
Was it Home Racing World logo on some NASCARs? Was it a limited run or was that just one or two? I seem to remember, but it popped into my mind where you did it way back when.
Oh gosh. Um, well, that was through SCX.
Might have been, yeah, because the other NASCAR.
And Dave Kennedy was working with SCX Worldwide at the time,
Hmm.
which was an American-based distributor, and they chose me as Slot Car Man of the Year,
Very appropriate, I would have said, yeah.
and it was 2008, and they put my name and everything and our slogans and everything on a NASCAR with jalapeno peppers and slot burgers. They call it the Slot Burger Company.
I remember that, yeah. Excellent. And obviously, so is it pride of place in the collection, is it, I would imagine?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a. I just couldn't believe it. They actually, um, the a couple of them flew out from the home office in Spain to come here to Missouri and to visit with me, and I barbecued for them and everything. And Dave Kennedy was here, and Mr. Eric Chuck Eric at the time he's SCX, and Brian Young. It was a hoot, as I like to say. I couldn't believe it. They just had this box. I had no idea what was going on, and they opened it up and presented it to me, and I just, wow,
That's
I couldn't
wonderful.
believe it.
That's lovely. See, it was, as we said, slot cars brings people together. It's great. Uh,
It does.
yeah, so it begs the question, because you won't, we joke about there's people who are racers and we mentioned the C word where there's people who are collectors. So
Yeah,
it's okay to admit it.
it's okay.
We're having sessions where people can confess, sort of thing. So
Oh yeah.
how many? I mean, just how many slot cars have you got? Do you even know? Dare you admit it?
Uh, I don't know. I I don't know. 1,000 or more.
And I was going to say, do you? Because over the years, I mean, did you? How do you? Because and obviously, I'll see the videos, and you're working with the new stuff quite a lot. One of the things I enjoy, which I don't make films of, but it's great to do, is just digging out old stuff and giving it a run. The new stuff's great, but the old stuff's got a charm, etc. So, do you ever get a chance to
It
just
does.
pull the old stuff out and have a run with it?
Oh yeah. I do that. I was just doing it last night. It, it's gone now. I took out an old slotted, old, we said, old slotted. That lets us know how far, old Group C car
Yeah.
that I had just seen on the shelf that I remember doing testing with. I'm like, you know what? I want to bring that car. I want to refresh it, bring it back. So, you know, got some new rubber on it, clean the motor up a little bit, new braid. Went out there and I was having laps on it right next to the brand new scale auto hypercar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I still do that. A lot of these cars, they're great. Um, all they need is a little bit of today's, like a set of tires or something, and they're ready to go.
It is great. That to me, that I joke about. I spend more money on tires than I do on cars, which is not true. But I mean, it's a shame that a lot of the tires die on the shelf, don't they? But I've still
Yeah.
not got to the bottom of why. I've got some old SCX cars, which the tires are still the original ones and they work just fine. And equally, I've got like a 2-year-old Carrera, which is mush. But
Oh yeah.
probably something that was very bad for us was in the tires that lasted, and that's become out
Yeah.
probably. But
It's weird how that works.
yeah, and yeah, it's right. But anyway, so but again, it's one of the great things is we can now get all of those spares because it used to be one of the car would. I mean, I joke about my origins of it. I was given a hand-me-down set, which is a sort of Scalextric figure of eight, and I think the cars that were in it. I think it was an Aston Martin and a Jaguar. I can't really remember, but they didn't work. And I was given new, what we now would call Formula Junior cars, so the BRM and the Lotus. But because
Oh yeah.
something didn't work, and just the nature of nobody fixed it basically. And I'm sure this. I always say this is why I've got such an obsession now because I spent what felt like a long time, but probably wasn't. But to a young boy, it was where I had this fabulous track and I had these cars and I would build it all up, but it just wouldn't go. And it was probably a loose wire. I mean, it undoubtedly was a loose wire. But the point being that there was the notion of fixing it just didn't dawn on anybody. And whereas these days you can,
Right.
everything can get fixed. But I say, Scalextrics have made a lot of money out of me being given a set that didn't work. And
Well,
which is
but you're right. I think we've talked about this before. I had a conversation with some other enthusiasts, on the board, Facebook groups and stuff, and we talk about the golden age of slot cars, and a lot of people refer to the '60s and everything, and there's no denying as a spot, but we're in it right now. To me, we have so much, and the availability of everything is a lot better than it used to be. Because back then, if you didn't have a local hobby shop to walk into and buy that stuff off the wall, and then you would have never known about it.
yeah.
And even if you did, well, can you order it? Can you get it? Can you do this? I need a catalog. I got to have this. Look what we have today. Click, click. All we got to do is right here.
Yeah. No,
We have
it's
everything that we need. You want new tires, you want a new controller, you want whatever you want, you can have.
well, I
It's
think
it's there.
it's amazing. I still haven't really digested it, but we were talking to Marco from Electric Dreams a while back,
Yeah.
and he reckoned there were 800 cars alone. Never mind controllers and tires and God knows what else, motors. He reckoned there was 800 cars launched last year. Now, I'm presuming it's including HO in that, but even so, it's just mind-boggling, really. And
It is.
yeah, again, the notion of it used to be. I think even in the beginning of it, we had Ninko came along, things took a huge step forward. Fly came along, things took a huge step forward,
Yes.
and
It
suddenly
was huge.
yeah. But even in those days, there would probably only be a relative handful of cars available every year. There wouldn't be, dozens of them every month the way they are now.
Right.
And so it's good. And I agree with you. I think we are in a great time for the hobby. I
I've
think,
got a
yeah.
no, I was just saying I should have brought it over here, but I have a little nincompoop, as I like to call them. I have a little catalog. It's about this big that folds out, and there's like 11 cars on it.
No.
That that was all they had. I miss them. I miss Ninko. Um,
Yeah,
they made some great
yeah. I mean, I'm a great advocate for them as well. And it's funny, there are some Ninko cars sell for silly money online, but by and large, there's a lot of Ninko stuff that you can get for a really good price. And for
Oh yeah.
somebody who's starting out or who's building up a clip, in terms of cars to just race and have fun with people because they're really robust, they're really they handle well, blah blah. They're great cars from that point of view. No, I agree
Oh,
with you. We miss.
the greatest cars they made were the classics, as far as I was concerned. And they had the little NC1 motor in them, and the mild
Mm.
14K whatever, and and that was the best motor for this hobby ever because 80% of us can't control what we have anyway. We don't need 25,000 RPM motors, right? We want them, we just not any good at it. And they gave us these little cars with these little mild motors, and I'll never forget the first time racing those. And I mean, we had a slot car box full of cars. I didn't even have to bring it. It's all we raced.
Yeah.
I mean, hours, you know. So I miss things like that. But we have it in other ways today.
That's true, and it's. I think they were. My history may be wrong, but I think that was the first time that a company had made a new model of an old car, rather than just re-releasing an old mold sort of thing,
Right.
which was an interesting. Looking back on it, if that's true, that's an interesting sort of broadening out of the hobby, where it was about class. You look at Slaughter, they're doing modern cars and historic cars, and it really broadened out the appeal, I think, for everybody. But yeah, no, Ninkos were great. But yeah, I love it. I'm one of my jokes is, if you want to go faster, just turn up the voltage because that's basically. But all this tuning takes too much time, as far as I'm concerned. But this desperate need for, and we're all. I know there are some women who do the hobby, and that's great. But by and large, I'm going to blame it on blokes. If you say to blokes, you can have this fast motor, or you can have this really fast motor. Which one do you want? Oh,
Exactly.
that one. And yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
we're our
Yeah.
own worst enemies. Yeah, yeah,
It,
definitely.
it, it is. I mean, and you've seen it over and over again for over the years. You see somebody, and they got a Carrera or a little Scalextric set, and they're like, yeah, I was thinking of a 40,000 RPM motor. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what you need on a track as big as a coffee table, right? It's our need for speed, right? It doesn't matter that we can't control what we had. We want to.
Yeah,
So it's just natural now. Over time, we we get out of that. We tune our cars to our own liking, stuff like that. But yeah, it's always been that way. I mean, even in model railroading, here's a locomotive, Hornby, for example, um, really big on that with their trains and stuff. Does it look like a Baldwin? And the answer is yes. But how well does it look like it? How's the handrails look at that quest for to make it better and better and better, more realism, and everything. So we always think, well, this is good, but we can make it better. Sometimes we don't, sometimes we do.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And but I think the other side of the hobby, which and I guess one of the things I've realised, because racing and performance and tuning are relatively easy to talk about, to use the modern word content. You can say, oh, I've got this car and I'm going to put a new motor in it and I'm going to fit these tyres and I'm going to do some lap times. Much harder to write about is, I've got this car and it doesn't go that fast, but it slides around in the corners. But I've just had a great hour just driving that car round and round. It's much harder, I think, to convey the joy of that.
Right.
Maybe I'm just not good at it. But and I think that's where, and it's one of the purposes of this podcast, is to sort of reach out to people and say, don't get put off. It's great to tune in, and everybody's got the new fastest What's-It, and they're fitting quick doobly What's-Its to it. But actually, that $10 Ninko car is probably going to give you an hour, as much fun if you've got a small track on your own. And I think
That's right.
the other aspect of the hobby, I think, which has really grown is the little Le Mans miniatures, or at the very end of this, out of my reach, certainly the sort of Velosaur, where the models are so beautiful from a modelling point of view, and
Absolutely.
they still work. Um, and
Yes.
you could race them, but you'd be mad. But in terms of driving them around and enjoying them, fantastic. But
They're breathtaking.
yeah, it's just difficult to you can't produce a 20-minute video of going, look how great this looks. Well, maybe you could. I
Oh,
don't know.
whoa. That's that's eye candy. What's that saying? Sex sells, right? So so when you see when you see a, a Ferrari, whatever type, and you see it perfectly modeled and beautiful like that, I mean that's uh, people see that and then they share it, and then they share it again and share it again and everything. And I mean, and it's like, wow, some people will come. I didn't even know they call it a slot car. You know,
Hmm.
they don't even know, but it helps show people other, like you say, aspects of our hobby. You know,
Yeah, it
and
brings people.
we need to have them. I mean, you have the great slot mods and stuff. You have people that are making uh, the most beautiful routed tracks in the world. I mean, just absolute stunning. You know, we could never afford them,
No, no.
but they're out there,
Yeah.
and they show another part of our hobby. But some people didn't even know about our hobby until they came along showing. You know, I mean,
Well, I think
Jay Leno with a slot car track. How great can that be?
it goes round the internet like a wave every sort of 9 months or so, doesn't it? Which is
Right.
the picture of the slot mods track built inside the Golf 917.
Yes. Yes. Right. Yes.
It's probably 10 more years old, but it's one of those things when people see it,
That's one of the that's one of the perfect things,
yeah,
right? That one of that photo right there. That's
yeah,
just great, you know.
yeah.
But no, you're right. It's there's just so many different sides to our hobby. Um, as you see on the groups, like um, all the different tracks that people have in their homes. Um, and some of them host club races. Now, do you have a club that you go to compete on,
There's a
or
couple,
is it
yeah.
just home racing?
No, there's a couple that I go to say infrequently. So they're about both of them are about 30 miles away. Which
Okay,
for us in the UK, that's quite a long distance. I know that's nothing for you guys.
right.
But I think, and I used to go to a club twice a week. But then when I put the track in what was my garage, and there's still cars in there, it's just they're really small. And once I put the track up permanently in there, it transformed it really. So I was thinking, well, I can play with the cars on the track
That's right. You
anytime.
don't have to go anywhere.
Don't have to go anywhere. And I'm very lucky. I've got a friend who lives not too far away who has basically he was a genius move. His daughter's kids moved out, so he converted the top of the house into one big room, and he's got a fantastic 4-lane polycar track up there, and
Great.
it's heaven. Yeah. So
Thank
so
you.
he hosts kind of club meetings as well as just us we can big around and have a natter and play with cars with a bunch of us,
Well, yeah.
which is great, really. Um, just one of the, I gave you some forewarning of this because we were talking about how we have kind of got everything. But one of the questions I like to ask these days is there a car that you'd love to see, but that you think nobody would ever make? And I say nobody, I mean Scalextrics, Carrera,
Um,
the mainstream guys. I mean, obviously 3D printing, you can make anything these days, but a regular model, is there something
a
that you
regular
would,
release.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, I, there's quite a few cars, right, that I on my wish list. I suppose it's not so much a car; it's a Chevelle, you know, but it's NASCAR 1979, and the Chevelle, the Laguna, the
Hmm.
Malibu. As you know, the history of NASCAR, that Daytona 500 um, is infamous. First green to green flag on White World Sports,
Hmm.
and it ended with the fight.
Hmm.
That set NASCAR on the map. Allison, Yarborough, crashing, getting into the fight down there while Richard Petty wins.
Yeah.
Those cars is what I would love to see um, made
Okay. Yeah.
for for our hobby. Uh, you know, and that's one. I'm an oval racing person because it's just what I grew up with.
Hmm.
Whereas you grew up next to a road racing, you know, um, type thing. And a lot of people here grew up, with Sebring and Mid Ohio and Riverside.
Hmm.
They grew up watching the Trans Am cars and road racing. But in my part of the country, in the middle here, it was all local dirt track oval racing, and that's what I'm the biggest fan of. So it's not that easy to convince a company from Spain how popular it is, right? If it didn't race in Le Mans, it just doesn't exist. Which I
Yeah.
understand. I respect that. So, but yeah, I mean, who knows what Carrera is capable of doing with, I didn't know we were going to get the new modern tooling for the NASCARs, and it happened, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, no, well,
so
I would think the brand most likely to is Carrera. Yeah, I mean, I get because they understand the American market is very important to them, and I think,
Scalextric though, I mean, I remember working with them a little bit a few years ago, and um, I was fortunate to, and uh, with the Monte Carlo and the Thunderbird, the those cars,
hmm,
and and couldn't do the real libraries. We couldn't do the real licensing, so that's why you had the fantasy schemes on the cars.
hmm,
We tried to make them as look somewhat what they were, and I was just excited over the moon because I could repaint them if I wanted to. I just wanted to have the models.
hmm.
But the fact that we got them was amazing to me because, as you know, having a model made like that, I don't take it for granted. You know,
Yeah.
you see that all the time. Someone say, "I wish they made this. I'd buy them all," and then they make them, and you never hear a word from them. You know, uh,
Yes, yeah,
but
that's
but
very true.
Electric has made some of the best NASCARs in our hobby over the years. Um, their car tomorrow, even though they didn't make as many, they made the Dale Jr. cars back
Hmm.
then. The last of the Aero style. I mean, they had the champion. They had Jimmy Johnson. They had They had some great cars, and before that, the old drive-through special, as we call them, uh, uh, NASCARs, the inlines.
Yeah.
And even after that, the sidewinders and stuff. They made some fantastic NASCARs back then. Um, we know
Yeah.
time to change. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, look at what Scalextric's accomplished with the Trans Am series.
No, that was whoever. Yeah, that was definitely paid off. That one has it. They're still doing them, and it's great, which is good. They need those big hits to counteract all the more obscure
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
And I think I don't envy. I think the guys, Simon at Scletric and the guys at Carrera. I don't envy them because almost whatever they do, they get a barrage of, "Oh, I want something different." Well, yeah, fine, but you can buy this first, and then maybe we'll get that sort of thing. But
right, right. That's
we're,
that's
we're,
that that you know.
we're never happy. We're never.
We're we're never happy, and You talked about the 3D thing, which I'm lucky to be involved in, and it's just amazing what we can do. And when you look out there on what other people are doing, you know, like, well, I didn't make it, or they don't make this, or they don't make that, I'll make it. I'm like, it's just amazing. I mean, you look at the resin, the resin 3D modeling that we've had
Hmm.
over the past couple decades.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean,
Harry.
Penelope Pitlane, George Turner, David Reineke, myself, Mark Tom, a lot of these people, pouring and making our own molds
It's good
to
stuff.
make the cars that we want, to bring the models, that other people don't. And that was just a few of the people. But now it's amazing what we can do.
It's,
But
Harry, listen. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate that. It's been great to talk to
thank
you.
you.
I put a face to the hands as I do. And if people haven't watched any of your videos, they'll wonder what I'm talking about. But you always film from point of view, and it's your hands on the car or doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
So it's
there's the table right there. I do a lot of it on. Just um I figure people don't want to see me, they want to see the car. So
well, yeah.
it's but it's it's fun. It's fun to get out here and do this. I appreciate what you guys do. All these channels like yours and stuff. It's such a great part of our hobby,
Thank
you
you.
know,
Yeah, I think
to
it's a
see people promote it like that and using this social media to promote our hobby and to share it with other people and to help each other, right?
yeah.
Hey, what tire fits this? Hey, I broke this. How do you do that? It's really, really great, seeing all these other people out there helping each other in our hobby. Our hobby is too small, and we need that kind of camaraderie. So I appreciate what you do.
Well, I mean, thank you. That's very kind of you. I mean, I think you're uh, don't take the rest the wrong way, but you're kind of the grandfather of all of this because you started that with your home racing world and stuff. So,
Okay. Uh, I'll,
we,
that's fine. I've been called a lot worse, so I'm good.
okay. Oh, well, listen, I better go and let you get back to the day job. Thanks again, Harry.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.